there, in this video we're going to be looking at the National 5 Specimen coursework that has been provided by the SQA, and this gives us an idea of what to expect in the coursework task. Now we're only going to be looking at task 3, which relates to the web design and development part of the course, and we're actually going to be looking at the implementation step. So in the coursework you can be asked one of the 5 stages, or a few of the 5 stages, and in this coursework you've been asked to complete the analysis step, which is here, where we have to identify an end user requirement and 2 functional requirements, and we also have to carry out the implementation step. Okay, and that's what we're going to be focusing on right now. So here we've been given a design, so we've got the design step that's been provided, and using this wireframe diagram, which is the design for our web page, we are going to create this web page using HTML and CSS. Okay, so this is basically our guideline. We need to follow this and use our HTML and CSS skills that we've developed in the course to create the page. So the first thing that you'll notice is we've got our wireframe here. Now our wireframe is a visual representation of how the web page is going to look. It shows us all the content and where it's placed, and also here we've got descriptions of how the content is going to be styled. So if we look here, we've got a title here for our web page, which goes in our browser tab. We then have some headings, we've got an image, which is the winning pupil photo, and we've got an audio clip of the pupil interview. Now these files have been provided for the task, so this will have been given to you to complete. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the completed website, and we're going to break down all the bits of the code, and we're going to show you what they're doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to a text editor that I've used just to type this up. So I've used Notepad++, so I'm just going to click down here, and I'm just going to close these other tasks I was working on in the past. So I've got 2 files. So the first file we're going to be looking at is the HTML file. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just zoom in a wee bit to make this a wee bit bigger so we can read it a wee bit more easily. So the first thing we're looking at here is we've got our doc type tag and our HTML tag to let the browser know that it's working with HTML. So as soon as it sees that, it knows that that's what to expect. Okay. Now our page is actually split into 2 sections. We've got the head section and we've got the body section. So I can expand and collapse both of these sections. So we're just going to be looking at the head section at the moment. Now, first thing we need to know is that in the head section, this is for content that doesn't appear on the web page. So in this case, it would be the title here. That's actually in the browser tab at the top. It's not on the web page. So if I go and open this up, we'll see up here, Woodline Academy, that is actually in the tab there. Okay, so that's the completed web page there. So that's what the title part is doing. It's adding that to the tab there. We also have a link tag, right? And we'll come to this later, but this is basically linking to our style sheet, which has got all our styling information. But we'll leave that to later, so we're going to jump back to this. Okay, so that's all the content that doesn't appear on our page. So what about the content that does appear on the page? Well, first of all, we've got the actual page itself. So we've got a background color of blue. In terms of content, we have a heading here in the middle. So that's a school name. We also have another couple of headings, month and pupil name, and we have an image and an audio clip. Okay. Now, if you look at the styling information, you'll notice that this one here is centered, and it's styled slightly differently from these 2 here, which are styled the same. Okay. So what we need to do in this task is we need to accomplish that using an external CSS file. So what this means is all our styling information is in a separate file. It's not in this HTML file that I have here. It's actually contained in another document, which is our style sheet. Okay, so we'll come back to that. So again, looking at our body, right, what you'll notice here is the first thing I've done is I've opened the body tag, and I've also styled, used some styling information, a ruling here to change the background color to blue. Okay, now this is an example of an inline style. It's been used inside the tag. Okay, we've only done it for this body here, and I think further down for the image we've done it as well. But basically that isn't linking to the style sheet, it's part of the document, and that is some styling information. So all that does is that simply changes the background to a blue colour. Okay. We then have our heading 1, right, and in this case we're going to style it a certain way, but our heading 1 is just the school name, which I've put as Woodline Academy. Okay, so you could have school name. For this task it wouldn't really make any difference, so there's school name there. Okay, so I'll just save that now. So as you can see, I've just got the H1, which is for a heading. There's no styling information there. For the month and the pupil name, these are both heading 2, right? So they're slightly smaller headings, but again, no styling information. Okay. We then, below the month, we have our image. So we've used the image tag here. So image, because it's an image. SRC is the source, so that's the file it's linking to. And in this case, it's a JPEG graphic, and it's called Winning Pupil Photo. And because it's in the same folder, we can use a relative address. So we don't need to put the full address there. We don't need to use a domain or a protocol or folders or anything like that, because if we look at where it's contained, it's actually in the same folder as the HTML file. Okay, there's actually 2 versions. We're using the MP3 version, so we're linking to, sorry, it's the graphic here, so we're actually linking to this file here. And that is a JPEG. Okay. Now we have added some styling information. So we've used an inline style, and that is to change the width and the height of the photo to 200 and 250 pixels respectively. So that's 200 across and 250 vertically. Okay. And pixels is basically, that's like the individual dots on the screen. So that's resized the image, so it's made it a lot smaller, so that when it appears on the web page, it's not taking up too much space. Okay, so that's what that's doing, and that's an inline style. That isn't linked to our style sheet. Finally, at the bottom here, we've got our audio clip of our pupil interview. So if I jump back to the code there, we've got the tag here, audio, for our audio. And within that we've set the controls, so that gives us a transport control, so it gives us a pause and a play, and then we've got the source tag here, and that's the name of the file there. So again, much like our image, it's linking to the name of the audio file, which in this case is an MP3 called Pupil Interview MP3. Okay, and if we just go and run that now, I'll just again open this up in Chrome, and you can see the images there, and if I play the clip,
I would just like to thank all.
You should be able to hear that there. You can see it's 11 seconds in length, so that's all working fine. Excellent. Okay, so the final thing is we need to know about our styling. Okay, now in this task, if we look at this again, we need to use an external CSS file. Okay, so what we want to do is, there are several ways we can do CSS. We can do our inline styles, which we have done for our body and for our image. But for the headings, we need to use an external style sheet. So what I've done is, I've actually put the styling information in a separate file, and I've called that styles.css. So if we look in the folder again, you'll see there's a file there called styles.css, and it simply has all the rulings for our 2 headings. Okay, so if we have a wee look here, this here is separate from these two. These two are styled the same. So what I've done is, because this is a slightly bigger text size, I've made this heading 1. So if we go to the style sheet here, we'll see heading 1 is our selector. So that is going to basically select any heading 1 on our HTML page is going to follow these rulings here. Okay, and the rulings that we need is, we need to change the font to Tahoma. So the property we use is font family. We need to change the size to 16 point. So we actually use, it's actually font size, not text size, to change the size of the font. And then to align the text, to put that in the center, we need to use text align. And you just need to be careful here, it's the American spelling. Okay, so it's not RE for center, it's ER. Okay, and if you actually type that in, it should come up in Notepad++ and give you that as an option when you're typing that in. Okay, so that is our styling information. That will style heading 1, which is just the school name here. Okay. Now for our other headings, month and pupil name, so that's month year, pupil name, month, pupil name. They're both the same, they're slightly smaller, so we've used the H2 tag. Okay, and if we go back to our styling, you'll see for these particular headings, again we need font family, and it needs to be Tahoma, so we're setting it to the Tahoma font. The size is 14 points, slightly smaller, and also the colour is white. So these two headings should be white, and this heading here should be black, so we've not changed the colouring information for that. So again, we'll open this up one more time and we'll see, oh sorry, that's the wrong one, that's me opening the style sheet. If we open up the HTML file, which is linked to our style sheet, we'll see that the heading 1 is slightly bigger, it's Tahoma font, it's centered in the middle, and it is black because we've not changed the colour, whereas these two headings here have both been styled with Tahoma, slightly smaller at 14 points, and the text colour is white. Okay, and they're aligned to the left as well. We've not changed the alignment of these, so they'll default to the left. Okay, and that is pretty much it. That's all you have to do for the task. And what you'll see now is, if I was to go in here and add another heading, so say I add another heading to, and it could be user comments. Maybe they're commenting on the page, so we want to introduce that section. What we should expect to see is, when I open it in the browser here, in fact I could just refresh it here, it will style it the same way as these here, as the other heading 2s. If I however change that to heading 1, we would expect it to follow these rulings here, so it would be bigger and it would be aligned to the center and it would be black. So again, I'll just save that there, and I'm just going to refresh the page, and there you go. Okay, so hopefully this has given you an understanding of what will be expected for the coursework implementation for web design. And really, that you need to know, you don't need to know all the tags and what they do, because it's an open book coursework. You can look that up, you can look at the class notes, or go in W3 Schools to find all the tags and all the properties. But you will be expected to use external style sheets, and you'll need to make sure that the style rulings are absolutely correct to get all the marks. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful, and when it comes to the coursework, we'll know what we're doing with this. Okay.